In this problem, we need to determine whether the function has a maximum or minimum point. To find if the function has a maximum or minimum point, just we need to look at the coefficient of x power 2. The coefficient of x power 2 is positive. It means the parabola is open upward. Once the parabola is opening upward, now we have a minimum point. To find the minimum value, number one, we need to find the value of a, b, and c. A, which is the coefficient of x power 2, equals 1. And b, the coefficient of x, which equals to negative 4. C, which is the number, so it will be equals 4. And c is representing the y-intercept. To find the x-coordinate of the vertex by using the formula negative b over 2a. By substitution. And instead of b, just replace it with negative 4. Divided by 2 multiplied by a, which equals 1. So the answer now will be equals 2. To find the y-coordinate of the vertex, instead of y, we just replace it with 2. So y will be equals 2 to the power 2 minus 4 multiplied by 2 plus 4. By using the calculator, we'll find that the answer will be equal 0. As we said before, we have a minimum point. The value of this minimum equals 0. For any quadratic equation, the domain will be equals R. Once the parabola is open upward, it means the range will be y is greater than or equal. Y is greater than or equal the y-coordinate. You will find that the y-coordinate equals 0, so it means y is greater than or equal 0. In this problem, we have a toy rocket. The rocket is launched with an upward velocity of 32 feet per second. That's represented by the equation x equals negative 16t to the power 2 plus 32t. Given that h represented the height and t represented the number of seconds, we need to determine whether the function has a maximum or minimum point. As we said before, just look at the coefficient of t power 2. The coefficient of t power 2 is negative. Once the coefficient of t power 2 is negative, it means the parabola is open downward. Once the parabola is open downward, now we have a maximum value. To state the minimum and the maximum value, we need to find a, b, and c. You will find that a is equals to negative 60, and b is equals to 32. C is equal 0, because there is no absolute term. Now we need to find negative b over 2a. By using substitution, so it will be negative multiplied by 32 divided by 2 multiplied by negative 60. The answer now will be equals 1. To find the y-coordinate of the vertex just by using substitution, so just replacing t with 1, so it will be negative 16 multiplied by 1 to the power 2 plus 32 multiplied by 1. You will find that h is equals to 60. So the coordinate of the vertex now will be 1 and 60. To state the maximum or minimum value, just look at y-coordinate of the vertex. The y-coordinate of the vertex is equal to 60. To find the domain, this relation is a quadratic equation. The domain of any quadratic equation represented by R. To find the range. The range now will be y is smaller than or equal. Once the parabola is open downward, it's represented by y smaller than or equal. But if the parabola is open upward, it will be y is greater than or equal. Y is smaller than or equal the value of y of the vertex, which is equal to 60. In this problem, we need to describe how the graph of each function related to the graph of the function f of x equals to x power 2. F of x equals x power 2 plus a. You will find that we have adding and subtracting. Once we have adding and subtracting, it means we have a translation. Once the translation is outside the bracket, it means the graph will be shifted up or down. But now we have plus. Once we have plus, it means the graph will be shifted 8 units up. F of x equals x power 2 minus 3. You will find that the only difference that we have here that we subtract 3. Adding and subtraction, it means we have a translation. Once we have adding and subtracting outside the bracket, it means the graph will be shifted up or down. But we have here minus, it means the graph will be shifted 3 units down. F of x equals 2 multiplied by x minus 1 all to the power 2. Step number 1, look inside the bracket. Inside the bracket, we have adding and subtracting. Adding and subtracting, it means we have a translation. So we have a translation, but this translation inside the bracket. Inside the bracket, it means the graph will be shifted to the right or to the left. Once we have negative inside the bracket, it means the graph will be shifted 1 unit to the right. If we have plus inside the bracket, the graph will be shifted 1 unit to the left. Now we have 2 outside the bracket. Once we have a multiplication, it means we have now dilation. So this dilation now is multiplying by 2. The scale factor is more than 1. Once the scale factor is more than 1, it means the graph will be stretched vertically and compressed horizontally. 2 is outside the bracket. So we just look at the vertical part, which is stretched vertically. So we have translation 1 unit to the right and dilation with the scale factor 2 by stretching vertically. For x power 2 minus 18, there is no bracket, it means there is no effect will be happen with x. According to the order of operation, we just look at the multiplication. The multiplication here we just multiplied by 4. Once you multiply, it means we have a dilation. The scale factor is more than 1, it means we have a stretched vertical. The second part that we have by subtracting 18. Adding and subtracting, it means translation. Once you subtract outside the bracket, it means the graph will be shifted down 18 units. In this problem, we need to write an equation for the function. To write the equation of the function number 1, we need to find the vertex. The coordinate of the vertex of the function will be equals to 0 and -3. Y is equals to a multiplied by x minus h all to the power 2 plus k. By choosing any point belongs to the parabola. Suppose that I will choose the point 1 and -1. So we have the vertex, which is 0 and -3, and the parabola is passing through the point 1 and -1. You can choose any point. The vertex now represented by the h and the k, and the point represent x and y. Now by substitution. So a multiplied by x, which is represented by 1, minus h, which equals to 0, all to the power 2, plus k, which equals to -3. All of that is equals y, which is represented by -1. 1 minus 0 equals 1, to the power 2 equals 1. So a plus -3, it means -3 equals to -1. Just by adding 3. So a now is equals to, by using substitution at the equation y equals to a multiplied by x minus h all to the power 2 plus k. Then y is equals. Instead of a, we just replace it with 2. Now x minus h. H is equal to 0. So x minus 0 equals x. To the power 2, it will be x to the power 2. Plus -3. Plus -3, it means -3. So the equation now will be y equals 2 multiplied by x to the power 2 minus 3. In this part, we need to solve the equation. Solving the equation, it means find the value of the variable which makes the left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side. The first step that we can use to solve the equation just by using factorization. We need to check if this expression can be factorized or not. Now we have x power 2 minus 3x minus 4. Just we open two brackets because there is no common factor. We have x and x. Then we will start from the right. I need two numbers. If you multiply them, the answer will be 4. By subtract, the answer will be 3. You will find that the two numbers are 4 and 1. Because 4 multiplied by 1 equals 4, and 4 minus 1 equals 3. The sign of the middle is the sign of the greatest number. Then 4 is negative, it means the two numbers with different sign. The first one is negative and the second will be positive. Now we have x minus 4 is equals to 0, or x plus 1 is equal to 0. Then x is equals to 4, and x is equals to -1. So the solution now will be 4 and -1. Negative x power 2 plus 6x minus 9 equals 0. To solve this expression, the coefficient of x power 2 must be positive. So we can multiply all of the equation by -1. Once you multiply by -1, it means change the sign of all of the expression. So we have x power 2 minus 6x plus 9 is equals to 0. Now you will find that this expression is a perfect square, because you can find the square root of the first and the square root of the third. If you multiply both of them, you will find that the answer will be equals to the middle. So the expression now raised to the power 2 is equal to 0. The square root of the first, which is x, with the sign of the middle. The square root of the third, which is 3. So it will be x minus 3 all to the power 2. Now x minus 3 equals to 0. So the square root of 0 equals 0. Then x is equal to 3. X power 2 plus 4x minus 3. We have a trinomial expression and there is no common factor. So we can factorize it by using the two brackets are equal to 0, x and x. Just to start from the right. I need two numbers. If you multiply them, the answer will be 3. If you subtract, the answer is 4. You will not find that any two numbers, if you multiply them, the answer is 3, If you subtract, it will be 4. So we can use the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula written in the form of negative b plus or minus the square root of b power 2 minus 4ac divided by 2a. Now by finding a, b, and c, a is equals 1, which is the coefficient of x power 2, b equals 4, and c is equals to negative 3. Now by using substitution, so negative b plus or minus the square root of b power 2 minus 4 multiplied by a multiplied by c. If you need to replace any number, just put inside the bracket. So 2 multiplied by a, which equals 1. Now by using the calculator, you will find that x is equals to negative 4.6 or x is equals to 0.6. In this problem, we need to find two numbers that they have the sum of 2 and the product of negative 50. To solve the problem that has the sum and the product of any two numbers, just by using the quadratic formula, x power 2 minus the sum multiplied by x plus the product equals 0. Now x power 2 minus the sum, which is 2, so it will be 2x plus the product, which is negative 50. Instead of plus, it will be minus 50 equals 0. Now by factorization, we have x and x. I need two numbers. If you multiply them, the answer will be 50. By subtract, the answer will be 2. You will find that the two numbers are 5 and 3. The greatest number have the sign of the middle. And the 15 is negative, so one of them will be positive and the other will be negative. So x minus 5 equals 0, it means x is equals to 5. And the x plus 3 equals 0, it means x is equals to negative 3. So the two numbers are 5 and negative 3. In this problem, we have g plus 8 to the power 2 equals 49. You will find that we have an expression raised to the power 2. So by using the square root, so g plus 8 is equals to positive or negative, the square root of 49. So g plus 8 now will be equals. One of the expression will be positive and the other one will be negative. G plus 8 equals to negative 7. By subtracting 8, then g is equals to negative 1. That will be the first value. By subtracting 8, then g is equals to negative 50. And that will be the second value. In this problem, we need to solve the expression by completing the square. If you look at the expression on the left-hand side, you will find that this expression is a perfect square. So we can find that the square root of the first is x, and the sign of the middle, which is plus, the square root of the third, which is 3. All to the power 2 is equal to 60. Now we have x plus 3 is equal positive or negative the square root of 60. So we have now two solutions. X plus 3 is equal the square root of 16, which is 4. Or x plus 3 is equal to negative 4. Now by subtracting 3, then x is equals 1. And subtracting 3, then x is equal to negative 7. So the solution now would be 1 and negative 7. Negative a power 2 minus 10a plus 25 equals 25. You will find that the coefficient of a power 2 is negative. To solve any quadratic equation, the coefficient of a power 2 must be positive. So we can multiply all of the equation by negative 1. By multiplying by negative 1, you will find that a power 2 plus 10a minus 25 is equals negative 25. If you look at the expression at the left-hand side, is not perfect square trinomial expression. So we shift 25 to the other side by adding 25. So we have a power 2 plus 10a is equals negative 25 plus 25 equals 0. Now we need to find the third. To find the third term will be equals to the middle, which is 10, divided by 2 to the power 2. So it will be 10 divided by 2 equals 5, to the power 2 equals 25. So just we add 25 to the left-hand side, and by adding 25 to the right-hand side. Now this expression is a perfect square trinomial expression. Now to factorize it will be the square root of the first, which is a, and the square root of the third, which is 5. With the sign of the middle, which is plus, all to the power 2 equal 25. Now to solve, we have two solutions. The first one, a plus 5 is equal to the square root of 25, which is 5. And a plus 5 is equal negative the square root of 25, which is negative 5. Now by subtracting 5, then a equals 0. And by subtracting 5, then a is equal to negative 10. So the two solutions now will be 0 and negative 10. Y power 2 minus 6y plus 2 equals 0. We need to solve by completing the square. If you look at the expression on the left-hand side is not perfect square trinomial expression. So just by shifting 2 to the other side by subtracting 2. So we have y power 2 minus 6y is equals negative 2. Now by completing the square. To complete the square, just divide the middle by 2. Raised to the power 2. 6 divided by 2 equals 3. To the power 2 equals 9. So just by adding 9 to the left and adding 9 to the right side. Now this expression is a perfect square trinomial expression. So y minus 3 all to the power 2 is equal 7. The square root of the first, with the sign of the middle, the square root of the third. By adding negative 2 and 9, it will be equal 7. So this expression now has two solutions. The first one, y minus 3 is equal the square root of 7, or y minus 3 equal negative the square root of 7. Now by adding 3, then y is equal the square root of 7 plus 3, or y is equal negative the square root of 7 plus 3. By rounding, you will find that the answer of the first one is 5.6, and the answer of the second one is 0.4. So the solution now would be 5.6 or 0.4. Solve each equation by using the quadratic formula. To solve by using the quadratic formula, we just need to write the zero equation. The zero equation now will be x power 2 minus 8x minus 20 is equal to 0. Now we need to find the value of a, which is 1. b is equals negative a. c is equal to negative 20. By using the quadratic formula, which is represented by x is equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b power 2 minus 4ac divided by 2a. Now by substitution, then x is equals. Now negative. And instead of b, you just replace it with negative a. Plus or minus. By using substitution, just put the element inside the bracket. So negative a to the power 2 minus 4 multiplied by a, which is 1, multiplied by c, which is negative 20. All of that divided by 2 multiplied by a, which equals to 1. You will find that we have two solutions. The first one, x is equals to negative 2, or x is equals to positive 10. Just by replacing the number using a calculator, you'll find that the answer will be negative 2 or positive 10. In this problem, we need to state the discriminant, then find the number of solutions. The meaning of the discriminant defined by b power 2 minus 4ac. To find the discriminant, at the first we need to find the value of a, which is the coefficient of a power 2 equals 1, and b is the coefficient of a, which is negative 4. c is equals 5. Now by finding the value of the discriminant, which is b power 2 minus 4ac, by using substitution, b, which is negative 4, to the power 2 minus 4 multiplied by a, which equals 1, multiplied by c, which equals 5. Now by solving, you will find that the answer will be equals negative 4. Once the answer is negative, it means there is no solution. So the number of solutions will be 0. So we have now three cases for the discriminant. If the discriminant is smaller than 0, it means there is no solution. But if the discriminant is equal to 0, it means there is exactly one solution. But if the discriminant is more than 0, it means we have two solutions. In this problem, we need to solve the system of the equation. System of the equation is formed from more than one equation according to the variable. Once we have two variables are x and y, it means we have two equations. The first equation is the quadratic equation, and the second is linear equation. You will find that y is equals x power 2 minus 4x plus 4, and y is equals 2x minus 1. We will just remove the value of y and replace the value of x. So we have x power 2 minus 4x plus 4 is equals, and instead of y, we just replace it with 2x minus 1. 2x minus 1. Now we need to form the zero equation. Just we have here 2x positive just by subtracting 2x, and 1 is negative by adding 1. So the new equation now will be x power 2 negative 4 minus 2 equal to negative 6x plus 4 and 1 equals 5. All of that is equal to 0. Now by factorization, Open two brackets, x and x. I need two numbers. If you multiply them, the answer will be 5. By adding, you will find that the answer will be equal 6. You will find that the two numbers will be 5 and 1. The sign of the middle is the sign of the greatest number. Once we have 5 is positive, it means the two numbers have the same sign, which is negative. So by solving x minus 1 equals 0, it means x is equals to 5. X minus 1 equals 0, it means x is equals to 1. Now we find the value of x. Once we have two equations, it means we have two variables. So we need to find the value of y. So we can find the value of y when x is equals to 5. Or we can find the value of y when x is equals to 1. By substitution at one of the two equations, we will choose the first equation or the linear equation. Y is equals 2 multiplied by the value of x, which is 5 minus 1. It means y is equals to 9. Y is equals 2 multiplied by 1 minus 1. Then y is equals 1. So the ordered pair now, when x equals 5, y equals 9. And when x equals 1, y is equals 1. And that will be the solution of the system of the equation. In this problem, we have y equals x power 2 plus 5x minus 3. And y equals 15 minus 2x. To solve the system of equation, remove y and replace it with x. So just write the first equation, which is x power 2 plus 5x minus 3. And instead of y, I will just replace it with 15 minus 2x. So it will be 15 minus 2x. Now we need to write the zero equation. 15 is positive, so I will subtract 15. 2x is negative, so I will add 2x. Now by adding x power 2, 5x and 2x, it will be 7x. Negative 3 and negative 18 equals negative 18. All of this is equal 0. Now by factorization, open two brackets, x and x. I need two numbers. If you multiply them, the answer will be 18. If you subtract, the answer will be 7. You will find that we have 9 and 2. The sign of the middle is the sign of the greatest number. Once 18 is negative, it means one of them will be positive and the other will be negative. X plus 9 equals 0. Then x equals negative 9. And that will be the first value of x. X minus 2 equals 0 by shifting 2 to the other side, so x is equals 2. Once we have x and y are two variables, so we need to find the value of y. Now we have two solutions. We can find the value of y when x equals negative 9, or finding the value of y when x equals 2, by replacing at the second equation. So y is equals 15 minus 2 multiplied by negative 9. Then y is equal. By solving, you will find that the answer will be equal to 33. Now by substitution when x equals 2 at the second equation. So y is equal to 15 minus 2 multiplied by 2. Just replacing x one time with 9 and replacing x with 2. Then y is equals to 11. Now you will find that the solution will be negative 9 and 33. Or 2 and 11.